one and all, to the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast for another roundtable discussion. I am the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, your king of extreme, Phil KOE, and I am joined this evening by my indomitable broadcast partners, the one, the only,
the 9-time champ, Tony fucking G. Like, share, subscribe.
And also the one, the only,
the reigning, defending RWP champion chicken. How y'all doing tonight?
We are doing wonderfully this evening for our second roundtable discussion. And we won't get into the fact that, Chicken, you are a false champion and Phil KOE is appealing this. And we're going to take this to the king of extreme, the KOE Nation Supreme Court. And we're going to get this set right, folks. Don't worry. The belt's coming home. And if not, why? There's more pay-per-views coming down the pike, and you need to just like, share, subscribe right here to Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast so you can see the hero of this story, Phil KOE, take the belt back from that rapscallion ne'er-do-well Chicken and also take it from that no-good, low-down Tony G. So, folks, be sure to see the hero of your story, Phil KOE, triumph over evil again. But beyond all of that, we are here to discuss something that is a very big development in the world of wrestling. For those who don't know, Daniel Bryan is now a free agent in wrestling again. He is free to do whatever it is he likes. He can go, yes, he is a free agent, folks. It is, in fact, that is actually true. So Daniel Bryan can go wherever he wants, do whatever he wants. And the big question that we have to ask ourselves, gentlemen, what does he do from here? He's got a lot of options. I've got some ideas cooking in my mind, but I'm curious as to what you guys think. Like, he could go to Japan. I don't think he's going back to Ring of Honor. The money's not going to be good enough.
No.
AEW, you know, if his contract would have expired 9 months ago, I would have seen that. But now it's getting a little less so. You know, Japan, he could do some money work. Maybe he wants to go to Hollywood. There's a lot of different ways he could go with this. And I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this. And without further ado, I'll hand it off to the current reigning, defending, revolutionary
undisputed
wrestling podcast champion until the KOE Nation Supreme Court overturns this, folks. He is, for the time being, the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast champion.
It's
wow.
So, God, you guys, it's so hard to hold you up all the time with my greatness. But I'll continue to do so for now. Yes. Phil's just like, oh, he just stole my gimmick.
I was about to say, like, now, Chicken, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but I, of all people, cannot give too much of a hard time because, as I've always said, if you steal from one person, that's plagiarism. But if you steal from a lot of people, that's just research.
Yeah, exactly. So, I love it. We've known this was coming. Like, this is no shock. Daniel Bryan's contract coming up. Like, it's been suspected. It's been rumored. We're pretty sure this is probably coming up. The Japan thing with COVID right now, that's kind of that was my first thought. Like, what do you do at his age and at his point in his career? Like, Japan makes the most sense. But with COVID, can that happen right now? Now, granted, is COVID going to lighten up and restrictions lighten up? We don't know. We'll see. But from everything that I've read and seen, he's just kind of sitting back and seeing what cards are out there. Like, he can kind of do whatever the hell he wants. Who wouldn't want to pick him up? WWE is trying to keep him. And it sounds like I saw one article. Granted, I don't know if this is actually like the real narrative here, but one article of WWE trying to get him to be a full-time backstage person, and he was like, hell no. And I don't blame him. Hell no. You're Daniel Bryan. You do not take a full-time backstage gig. Hell no.
I was about to say, he was miserable when he was doing it in the first place, so I don't see why they thought he would sign up for that. So
he sat there. Yeah, he sat there for over 2 years playing commissioner, as an on-air personality, and he was miserable doing that because the fire was still burning so brightly there. What is Daniel Bryan going to do? I'm just going to flat out say it. Spoiler alert, folks. He's going to re-sign with WWE. You heard it here first. That's what's going to happen.
What?
He's going to re-sign with WWE. He's gonna play this out. He's gonna ride this out, but eventually he's gonna re-sign with WWE. If we wanted to play hypotheticals and play in pretend land, okay, let me entertain this for a second. Like you said, Chicken, Ring of Honor is not a viable option. It's just not. There's no reason. There's absolutely no reason to go to Ring of Honor.
Money.
It's not the Ring of Honor that he left. No, never gonna happen. Impact, same thing. Why the fuck would no? Just no. No double, no triple.
That
no.
would bankrupt
There's really no other
Impact.
options out there in America other than AEW. Not only would it bankrupt Impact, the sheer shock and just the jolt of life that would inject into Impact would cause it to overdose, and that may actually finally kill it once and for all. So that's not an option. The only other option in America is AEW. I thought the same thing as Chicken. With COVID right now, Japan is not a viable option. And even if it were, Japan is way different than when Daniel Bryan, the American Dragon, Daniel Bryanson, left Japan.
Right.
All the guys that he would have been clamoring to work for in Japan are now in AEW. So,
Bryan Danielson
that
would
being
be coming
said,
back.
if he does decide...
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Bryan Danielson, American Dragon in Japan, it's an option. But, I mean, who's he going to fight? I mean, yeah, there's still options in New Japan. Absolutely. But really the guys that he would be clamoring to work with that make the most sense on a marquee, they're in AEW. So that's really the only real option other than WWE. So if we're going to pretend that this is actually going to happen for a second, obviously it's the Kenny Omega match. We know that is going to be the giant billboard thing they want to do. We can pretend that it's Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes can pretend that it's Cody Rhodes, but I don't need to see Brandy and her newborn baby interfering in that match and making it way more contrived than it needs to be, and Cody blading for no fucking reason 30 seconds into the match.
I would give it 4.5.
So it's Kenny Omega.
I'd probably give it 4.5 stars.
We know. So it's Kenny Omega or bust. And that's really all it's going to boil down to. If this happens for whatever reason, it's going to be Kenny Omega. John Moxley doesn't even make sense at this point. It's got to be Kenny Omega. So that is the big match. That if he has any reason to go to AEW, it's for that sole reason alone.
Now, here's the other thing that I thought, like, might be the number one reason he let his contract expire, so he can start up a bunch of podcasts and platforms while he's not under contract. Start up his own YouTube, his own Spotify, get all that shit going, get his own Twitch, everything going, and then re-sign. Like, no, you don't get none of my Twitch shit. And like, I think that would probably, honestly, be the biggest reason he let it expire. He's just going to set up all of his social media, get it all in one fell swoop, then re-sign with a deal where you don't get my social media. That would that's
a smart move.
Yeah,
that's a really smart move.
Yes. Now
it'd be brilliant. He should do that.
Well, every talent going forward kind of needs to, because that whole deal, like, that's a whole different roundtable discussion for another day, folks.
Yeah, that's a union talk.
Subscribe to this space. Oh, actually, I've got a little preview for that. We're going to have that discussion at a later date, and I've actually got somebody that's a pretty big union expert that's going to be coming in, and I even kind of joked with him, you don't know much about wrestling, but you know a lot about unions. I don't know much about unions, but I know a lot about wrestling. I think you're shaking up in a cocktail shaker. That should work. So, yes, that's a little preview, but we won't get into that here. But Daniel Bryan, Japan would be the money work. That's where he's just, I don't care. I am just here to make as many dollar bills. Now, I think Daniel Bryan wouldn't be my first pick, but he is a guy that could transition to Hollywood without much of an issue. Like I said, he's not my first pick. He's not action star. He's that, he's that nice guy in the romantic comedy. That's Daniel Bryan. Like he's I know. Yeah. But hey, if Hollywood's waving that check in
he's
your
Ryan
face,
Reynolds' friend.
Yeah, yes. Chicken, if they're waving
With
that,
Hollywood today, you can
it's
try
like,
anything, I
Chicken,
guess.
we're gonna make you the next Seth Rogen. Oh, okay, all
Yeah.
right, whatever.
Deal.
It's not that hard.
Sign me up. Yeah.
yeah, of course. So yes, there's that. But so now that's some of
I
Daniel
don't
Bryan's
think that's
options into the
it.
future. Well, yeah. Now AEW, much I hate to say it, I'm going to quote Jim Cornette had a pretty good point. So Daniel Bryan, he's going to show up and try to have good matches on shitty television. Is that going to turn this whole thing around?
Well, hang on.
Is he going to show up and have an
He's been
exploding
having
ring
great
match
matches.
or a Mimosa Mayhem match in AEW? That's
Since Daniel Bryan
which I
came
loved
back
both of
out of
those.
retirement, he's been having great matches on gradually shittier and shittier television. So, I mean,
Stars.
really, he'd be right at
Okay,
home in AEW.
You know,
Yeah, because
actually, Tony,
it's different shitty. It's different
convinced
shitty
me.
television, but it's still shitty television.
You convinced me. I'm sorry. You completely convinced me. Like,
Same.
oh yeah. Do you remember some of the shitty angles that Daniel Bryan has had to will into better existence over the last 2-3 years? I mean, like now, granted, he took the environmentalist heel thing and actually made it good. That was turning chicken shit to chicken salad, and that wood belt is still awesome. It's like, and this was from natural fallen oak. I'm like, oh my God, shove it up. And that was perfect.
Sack belt. That was amazing.
I love that. And so, yes, Tony, you're actually right. Like, he's been having great matches with bad angles. He was begging to get taken out of the main event of WrestleMania. Hey, thanks for that on the way out, by the way.
So is this discussion about Daniel Bryan's future more about the future of pro wrestling? Like,
kind of.
I think he's gonna play a pivotal part in whatever happens to AEW, WWE, post or let's say COVID continues for another year, or it ends in 6 months or 3 months, or like however this plays out. What he does might set the stage for what a lot of other people do, or even what programming does.
I think you're right. I think you're right, but first, I think it's worth noting that if you listen to Daniel Bryan's promos over the last year, he's been sneaking in the comments that, hey, I might be perfectly happy here within the next year to just hang up my boots and be a family man. He was sneaking that into his promos, a little bit here, a little bit there, to just kind of gradually put that idea into people's heads because he wasn't sure what he was going to do yet. So I think that plays into this part here. I fully expect him to resign with WWE.
Moxley did the same thing.
Right, but that was for completely different fucking reasons.
For a little while.
That was for different reasons. He was promised the face of a company, and he got it. So I think Daniel Bryan is going to be wrestling in WWE very soon again. If not them, maybe he'll have a quick stop at AEW. Maybe he'll take a money match in Japan. But eventually he's gonna retire in WWE, and that's the way it's gonna be. If he goes to Hollywood, that's probably in his plate too.
I don't see the Hollywood thing. I don't see the Hollywood thing.
Not on a large scale, no.
Oh God, nothing good.
Hey, now,
he's not going to be like John Cena.
He's not going to be in the
He's not going to be in the
he
can't even touch that.
But think about it. You're walking through Walmart and you see a DVD with Daniel Bryan's face on it. That's going to make a lot of people stop and turn for a B and C level studio.
People don't look at DVDs.
Why did he sneak his way into a Blu-ray cut of Heat with Pacino and De Niro? Because he's always good at doing three-way, sneaking in for a three-way.
Oh, snap. So it can't just be Daniel Bryan versus somebody. It's got to be Daniel Bryan versus somebody versus somebody. Yep.
I'm surprised Daniel Bryan hasn't popped into this show before.
Like some week where I'm just if I'm gone, just Daniel Bryan's gonna.
Oh God.
Uh-oh.
Whoa! Whoa, there he was. Yes. Daniel
Just
Bryan
like that.
It happened.
The show. Yes, that son of a bitch. He sees 3 people in a podcast like, wait a minute.
Yes.
Why am I not in this three-way? So,
I see a belt and it needs to be mine.
now, so there's a couple of possibilities for Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan going forward. But yes, Tony, you're absolutely right. It will be a retirement ceremony with people going, yes, yes, yes. And a Hall of Fame ceremony will be how he ends his time in wrestling in the WWE.
Exactly.
But now we've discussed Daniel Bryan and where he might go. But guys, I don't know if you know this. There's actually a list of 8 other really hot free agents right now, and I'm just gonna fire through them, and I'm curious where you think they're gonna end up. So we're just gonna go really quick. We got David Smith Jr., the son of Davy Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. He
was
with a big
in
company,
MLW.
the Island of
Was he
Misfit Toys.
MLW? Okay. I expect that to be I expect him in AEW because they love cashing in on the names, even the sons' names of former WWE employees.
That does make sense to me as well. I might agree with you on that because if I'm like the nostalgia feel as an old wrestling fan trying to get back into it, I'd be like, oh, British Bulldog son. Fuck yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Like that might be something cool and interesting. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's where Kurt Hennig's son needs to go. Like,
Exactly.
honestly,
Kurt
Well,
Hennig's
that's why
son's
Brian Pillman
wrestling?
Jr. is in AEW. Every time I see Brian Pillman Jr. on the screen, I make sure to watch that fucking match because hey, Brian Pillman was badass. And you know what? Kid's
Brian
just as
Pillman
fucking
was
good.
fucking badass.
yeah, at this point in his
Oh
career,
yeah,
I don't
Pillman was
see
amazing.
I don't see David Smith Jr. making a WWE run. If they didn't bring him in when they did Davey Boy Smith's WWE Hall of Fame induction,
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it's going to happen. So his best hope is an AEW run, and I think the sooner the better for him.
Yeah.
Now, another one we've got is actually just recently released and with some controversy, Mickey James.
Mickey, I expect to see back in. No, I take it back. I was going to say Impact, but no, she's going to end up in MWA because that's where her husband Nick Aldis is. So I expect NWA. I'd like to see her in AEW. I'd like to see her in AEW, but because she'd be so good in a veteran role, being the workhorse of these matches, because that's what they really lack in the AEW women's division.
They just need
and
they
she
need
could
her
be
so
that.
she can agent the fucking women's matches in a way that's actually like good. I mean, Nyla Rose shouldn't be going 15 minutes with people. Jesus. But anyways.
No.
Another one, which is kind of a weird one, Minoru Suzuki. He's from New Japan, but he's also got an open contract. Like he's basically got the open relationship of wrestling contracts. Like, yeah, I'm wrestling for you, but I can go to Ring of Honor or AEW or here or there if I want to, right? Right, babe? Right? So yeah, he does. He's got the open relationship, and he could go to WWE if he wants, but
nope. That's an AEW all day because they're gonna figure out a way to shoehorn that into John Moxley feud for the IWGP United States title.
To me, I'm like, again, he's like, why am I going to mess up a good thing? Why would he want to commit to just one federation when he can just float from federation to federation? He's like, yeah, he's
ride the open relationship for all it's worth.
Yeah, I'm gonna
till it blows up in your face.
Oh, it always does.
Oh, it's always fun until it blows up in your face.
Oh, yes. So
what a ride it'll be, though.
Good luck to Minoru Suzuki. God bless. Then we got Tessa Blanchard. This one's a controversial pick. I think she would be in WWE right now if it wasn't for the accusations against her.
This was a missed opportunity by WWE because they had the chance to get her. And what a feud it would have been having Charlotte Flair, daughter of Ric Flair, against Tessa Blanchard, daughter of Tully Blanchard. What a marquee women's bout that could have been, headlining a big show, right? They could have done that. Missed opportunity. But that only became a possibility on the table because original talks with AEW fizzled out. because the women on the roster in AEW had such a problem with the backstage reputation that she's garnered over the years. And she was called a bully in Japan, and she's kind of got a bad rap. So and if you forget, she did win the Impact World Heavyweight Championship,
Yes.
the actual Impact World Heavyweight Championship. She's beaten Brian Cage before, so she's got a resume on her. Okay. The talks right now do have her leaning towards finally ending up in AEW. So whatever issues were there before, they must have smoothed them over just enough to get somebody of her caliber in-ring talent on the roster, because they are severely lacking in that area.
Yeah,
Tony, go ahead, Chicken.
And I was going to say, to me, it makes sense. It's been enough time. I think, hardcore fans remember it, but like anybody like me that wasn't a hardcore fan when all that was going on, all that shit was coming out. I remember it still, but I'm like, I don't really give a shit. Like, she had talent. It was fun to watch. Like, if she ends up in AEW, if AEW can snag up 2 or 3 of these names that Phil's been listing off here, oh wow, like, you might have a palatable product that you can actually put out and have some really good matches.
You got to use them right, though.
Yes. Now, this is something I wanted to intimate to you, Tony, when you're saying, could you imagine Charlotte Flair versus Tessa Blanchard? Well, you got to remember, though, Tony, it wouldn't be Charlotte Flair versus Tessa Blanchard, because WWE doesn't own the name Tessa Blanchard. So she'd have to show up as, hi, everyone. My name's Delilah Donnybrook, and I'm here, and I'm here to just fight folk. And she'd just show up as a new out of nowhere.
I think they'd find a way around it.
So weird.
The naming thing is so weird. Stupid. Well, they're doing it intentionally because they want their folks to be marketable, but not too marketable. Yeah. That's Tessa Blanchard.
But for the historical sake, they'd find a workaround if they ever lined that thing up. Yeah. I don't think it's going to happen. It's unfortunate, because I would have loved to seen Charlotte versus Tessa, but maybe down the road in another form or fashion. But yeah, I expect that to end up being AEW.
After Charlotte in several years is forced to retire in a beautiful, heartfelt send-off match where one of the other 4 horsewomen's about to hit their finish and goes, I'm sorry, I love you, hits it on Charlotte, and she retires forever. And then a couple of years later, she needs some extra cash, and she does a match against Tessa Blanchard in AEW or TNA. Yeah,
and then becomes full-time backstage.
Yes. But all right, so we got 4 more interesting. These are the heavy hitters. I wanted to save some of these for last, because these are some heavy hitters that are free agents. Now, the newest one, Andrade Cien Andrade, he's a new free agent. Charlotte's boyfriend or fiance.
Fiance, yeah.
Yes, and he wanted out, and he got out immediately. He can show up anywhere with no 90-day, no compete. He could go to Mexico. He could go to AEW. I don't see Japan.
He's been throwing out online social media challenges to Kenny Omega. So I think we'll at least see Andrade in AEW, at least for like a one-off. I don't know if they'll get him full-time. Yeah, and they've kind of been doing that with some of the New Japan guys and some of the Impact guys. Really some of the independent guys. And then that was before all these releases happened.
That's probably smart by AEW, though. If they can bring somebody in, give them short contract, let's book a few pay-per-views, a few matches. If the crowd responds, if you're getting us views, then we'll load you up with a contract. So that's probably smart on AEW's part.
I think it's a good way to go about it. Get a feel for it, see what he brings to the table, see how the crowd reacts to him. And if there's something there, then bring him in full time. It's kind of nice that AEW has that option. They don't have to lock people into a developmental contract or a full-time main roster contract. They can kind of play around with what works, what doesn't work. And then they don't have to put somebody on the back burner to cool them off and be like, okay, well, now that the crowd's forgotten about him, I guess it'd be fresh if Kenny Omega wrestled him now. Well, too little, too late. They can go somewhere else, they can do something, and they can make a name for themselves doing something else, and then come back if it works out. So I do see a short-term contract for Andrade in AEW. I don't think it's going to be long-term.
I see him going back to Mexico and just becoming the king of Mexican wrestling for the next like 5 years, if nothing else. I could see him at least going back there to kind of freshen himself up, as Jim Ross would say, learn a new hold.
Yep.
And then come back to WWE. I mean, he's engaged to Charlotte. He's coming back eventually. Okay,
Yeah, that is also a good point. Very good point.
Here's a big name that I bet you guys didn't know is not currently under contract with WWE and can do whatever he wants. Brock Lesnar! Yes, Brock Lesnar is currently a free agent. He can go to AEW if he wants.
He can go
to Japan if he wants.
Come on. Okay, Brock
with the Minnesota Vikings.
He can go. Brock Lesnar is not going to go play Mudshot Outlaw Exploding Ring thumb fuckery in AEW. Brock does not play well with others. We know this. This is verifiable. Brock Lesnar likes things the Brock Lesnar way. Brock Lesnar likes them as little as possible.
And he likes money.
And the AEW has money. But if you want to get into a bidding war with Vince for the rights to Brock Lesnar, I'm sorry, Mr. Tony Khan, you're not going to win that battle. And he doesn't want to go to AEW because what are they going to have him do? What the fuck are they going to have him do?
Who's going to be his foe?
Tony does win that bidding war, though. Vince McMahon has done that in the past. Tony Khan's got $50 million dedicated to this. Brock, fine.
Not to Brock Lesnar.
Go there and ask for $15 million fucking dollars. See if he'll give it to you. And then just drain his fucking stores. Just drain all of his money.
Here's what
you're not going to get that back.
No, what's he going to do in AEW?
But even Brock's got to go, well, who the fuck am I going to wrestle?
Exactly.
Kenny
There's
Omega,
no option.
Cody Rhodes, and that's
it.
That's
it.
There's nothing else there.
You cannot do a John Moxley Brock Lesnar match.
Orange Cassidy.
Fuck you, Phil. Fuck you. You legitimately cannot do a John Moxley Brock Lesnar match because we've seen that, and it was an absolute disaster because they don't play well together.
Brock and Jericho would do a match just because.
No. Absolutely not. They will not book that.
Know each other, and they'll actually know they can be safe with each other. So yeah, Brock would be like,
I don't see it.
No, he would look at the roster and say, okay, the people I'm willing to work with are Cody, maybe Kenny, Jericho, fucking Moxley, because I've worked with them before. Like the people he's worked with before, and he can trust to keep them safe.
I don't think he'd work.
Yeah, so Jericho would be actually really high up that list.
I don't see much happening there. So I really, honestly, for me, it'd be Cody.
Make Jericho look good again.
That's going to be really hard to do because
just throw him around.
He went from having 3-star consistent matches to Anyway, who else? No. Who else, Phil?
So let's be frank. I think Brock is just biding his time. And he's going to re-sign WWE.
Brock's not going to do much.
He'll
more.
Stay with WWE for sure. That's where the money's at. That's the easy matches. That's the easy contract. That's the easy fame. Yeah, he's
waiting. Brock Lesnar's waiting for crowds to come back.
Brock Lesnar will go to like an AEW or whatever the hell's around when he's like 50.
Yeah. Make an appearance, hold up a belt. Hey.
When all he can really do is kind of a German suplex, sort of. He can't even do the F5 no more. Now, this one, you knew it was eventually going to come up, but we got to discuss it. Okay. CM Punk. Yes, classical music Punk.
Does anybody care?
No.
Unfortunately, after his reappearance on that Fox show, that was just a...
Yeah, and that came at the worst possible time, and it fiddled out. It ruined it.
It just sucked all the air out of a CM Punk return, and honestly, I don't think he even wants to. There doesn't seem to be any passion.
No, there's not.
Have you ever been in a funk in your life? There was just 2 weeks where just nothing ever went right.
Absolutely.
And you tried and you're like, man, things just suck right now, no matter what I do. That's what I imagine.
Those were his UFC fights.
Well, that's what I'm imagining CM Punk for the last 3 years. Yeah.
6,
3,
7.
like try like almost, like almost.
Well, at least he had a little WWE fame before he failed miserably in UFC.
No,
And
I'm just
now
saying this-
everybody's like, oh, CM Punk wants to come back to wrestling. Well, wrestling, yeah, they don't miss you.
Oh no, the fans miss him, but he does not miss what the product is. The product has gotten so unbelievably stale in the last 3 years. You thought that AEW was going to be this life injection to the product itself. Well,
You think
really,
competition? Yeah. No.
yeah, you thought that was going to be just this resurgence. Well, no, it just took all of the NXT fans that were frustrated with NXT and it corralled them over here. And it took all the Ring of Honor New Japan fans and it brought a bunch of them over here. And it just kind of formed this, super heavy metal group of asshole fans. You know, they're like vegans, but way bigger assholes. So
wow.
Wow, Tony, tell us how you really feel. I think
how do you know? How do you know a fan is only a fan of AEW? Don't worry, they'll tell you.
Did you see that last Cody match?
Yeah, exactly. So
This is great.
Yeah,
This is great.
The
Now,
AEW, sure, I can
it's
see
like-
it. Same as Andrade, short run.
Yeah, well, it's like I kind of said earlier about Daniel Bryan. Like, what are we expecting Punk to do other than being another guy on bad television? And that and depending on the week, that can apply to either promotion. So that's probably why he doesn't have a lot of passion for it. And like I've heard he's like trying to get into some movie role or something. And like, yeah, he's kind of all over the place.
Movies.
And like Chicken, you're saying like, have you ever been in like a funk? It's like, well, he's been in a funk for like 7-10 years now, man. That's an awful long funk.
It's like I know I'm talented, but nobody else sees it.
Yeah.
Oh boy, everybody loves somebody who's just like, why doesn't everyone recognize my genius? Like
Exactly.
I mean,
to be fair,
and I'm the one exception. You know, everybody doesn't quite fully recognize my genius yet, but they're on the way.
That's why I said 2 weeks. My stints only last 2 weeks, and then I rebound. So
KOE Nation on YouTube and Twitch, join the party. You know, it's the right thing to do.
No, to be fair, I don't think there's another wrestler alive today that could take a hiatus the length of CM Punk's and just go, yeah, okay, I'm just going to go back and do it.
And then get his ass kicked in UFC over and over again. Too.
We've already had one, and that was Edge. He's come back. He took right back to it. Granted, it was kind of at a really bad time, but he made it work.
I liked it.
I loved it. But
he made the
to
best
do it
of
on the
that
level
situation.
that CM Punk would have to do it on, I think the impact of CM Punk coming back at any point would be more monumental to pro wrestling as a whole than even Edge's. I just right now is like the worst time to do it. But how much longer can he wait? So if he's going to
is it the worst time to do it? Like for wrestling or for CM Punk? Like
both, honestly, both. Honestly,
yeah,
I think this
bit more crowds, but
you kind of have to start dialing this shit up to 11 right now, don't you? Like
you do. I don't think you can start with CM Punk.
Why wouldn't I be like, I need Brock, I need CM Punk, like I just need to like marquee some fucking names to get people interested again. Now that I actually have people in the stands, I can actually have an audience. Like I don't understand why wouldn't I have Daniel Bryan fucking signed back on? Why wouldn't I have why would I let these people off a contract? Now, some of them that have been released from contract, I get they're not big crowd draws, but these big names, when I just had to succumb to NBC and join Peacock, this is like darkness is looming over pro wrestling. It has been for a long time, and it's getting darker and fucking darker.
Yeah.
You want to stop that? You need marquee names. And if you can't get those marquee names to stay with you, then I hope AEW snatches every damn one of them up and runs with it. They need to steal writers too, or something like
Oh,
apparently because
God, no.
AEW.
They need less writers.
No.
Less
Give
writers.
them ideas.
Less
No.
writers.
You've seen what they've been writing.
Less
No,
writers.
I have not watched a lot of
Hi,
AEW.
Hi, AEW. I'm the guy that wrote the Fiend's angles. Get the fuck
yeah,
out of my office!
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Let me put it this way.
God.
You're right about the dark cloud looming over, but AEW needs the big names. They need to take about half their roster, wipe it clean, and spend that money that they would have been spending on people with no value down the road and buy some of these big names. You know, you can shorten up the roster size, bring in some quality, bring in established names. That's your lifeblood there. What WWE needs is somebody else to take
Fresh
control of the product. And we all know what that means. So until that happens, wrestling is going to be in a stalemate.
I think it still comes back to character. I remember like a lull in wrestling for me, and like when my highest fan days was Chavo Guerrero running around on a fucking stick horse. I still remember that though, and I still tuned in every week. I hated that shtick. I hated it. But I still watched because I wanted to watch him get his ass kicked.
Yeah, and that's why it worked. And yep, now that's the thing. AEW serves a purpose because in wrestling for, God, I would say almost the last 60 years, the WWF, the WWF, WWE has been the star factory of professional wrestling. All the way back to Bruno to present. They are the star factory.
Yep.
WCW, the NWA, AEW, they are all the how can I miss you if you won't go away promotion.
Yeah.
Like you can go there for a little while and the star power that you got from WWE can now be used over there. And so that's why I'm bringing up the last free agent on our list, and one that could actually shift a slight bit of the balance of power, and that is Samoa Joe. He was just released, and apparently he didn't want to be a commentator anymore. And that's a guy that could literally go anywhere. Like
so good at it.
Every promotion
he was better than the other guys they bring in.
Nobody's good at it anymore.
But we'll go through all of the North American promotions here real quick. MLW would be lucky to have him. That would be the thing that would actually put them on the map.
Yep.
Ring of Honor, again, it would be a huge boon for them if Joe would just show up at an event and say, Hi, I'm Samoa Joe. Remember me? I was one of your best champions of all time. Pleasure to be here. Then you get to AEW.
Oh, don't skip over NWA.
Well, yeah, NWA, that would be good. It would be one person to actually take the belt off of Nick Aldis that you would actually believe.
Go.
With Impact,
exactly.
You might actually get like
more nostalgia feels.
I was about to say yes. I mean, you'd get some of those old Impact TNA fans back, and then the big time AEW. I could see him taking the AEW title, the TNT title. I could see him taking any.
If he came out,
titles.
no, you'd have to do with Samoa Joe and AEW. You'd have to do the exact same thing with Samoa Joe and AEW that TNA did with Kurt Angle against Samoa Joe. You bring him out, you have him headbutt Kenny Omega right in the fucking head, just like Kurt did to Samoa Joe, and you immediately have him in the world title picture and winning it very quickly. That's how that would have to work. That's it. That's how it would have to work.
Yeah, outside of that, it's like going back to no, like if he doesn't do something like that and go to that promotion, it's like you mentioned some of the earlier promotions with some of that nostalgia feel. It's like going to a high school 20-year reunion or your college 10-year reunion, or hey, let's actually like do something.
Yeah, make it worthwhile. Make it worthwhile. You have an opportunity here. Make it worthwhile. And I think that's the only reason he didn't re-sign with WWE is because, you knew you were going to get handcuffed to the desk, and he didn't want to get handcuffed with the desk. He's got some more mileage on the tires. He wants to use it. And you can't really blame the guy for that, especially given the state of professional wrestling right now. There are some...
You need names, yes.
You need names, and he's enough of a name. There's an opportunity there. I think he would be a big enough attraction. Whoever gets him will be lucky enough to have him. Say what you want about his matches. He does have the work rate. He knows how to work matches that are believable. He looks believable in the ring. He's got good psychology. Somewhere like AEW that doesn't have a lot of ring generals, he could go there and make an immediate impact.
I mean, he's main evented WWE pay-per-views with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Like, the guy's got some tremendous experience he can bring. Now, guys, looking over, there was something that I forgot on this list. And there's a couple free agents that are really the best get in all pro wrestling and pretty much in any corporation that you could ever hope to have. The three best free agents that any company is just leaving money on the table if they do not sign them are Tony G, Chicken, and Phil KOE right here at the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast, the hottest free agents, every last one of you companies. If we're talking about WWE, AEW, hell, Amazon, Berkshire Hathaway, you're all leaving money on the table, not signing us as your premier stars. I'm sorry. I mean, this is come on, this gorgeous face and these two indomitable broadcast partners, this is a combination that cannot be beat. So, folks,
it's so hard holding these guys up right now.
As I'm known to say around here, folks, all that being said, thank you for joining us for our Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast Roundtable on the free agents of professional wrestling. I am the devilishly handsome outlaw himself, your king of extreme, the lord of the Scottish Highlands, the prince and potentate of the political parlance, the conqueror of the ethereal, and one damn handsome man himself, Phil KOE, signing off and handing it off to my indomitable free agent broadcast partners, Tony G, Chicken. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thanks, folks. Make sure, tune in. Pay-per-view coming up. Put this bad boy on the line so I can hold it for the third straight pay-per-view. Super excited to put these boys to shame. They keep claiming I'm not legit. I think I've proven I'm legit. I've held this belt more in this last year than Phil has in the last 2 years.
Oh, them's fighting words. Folks, be sure to check us at the next WWE pay-per-view so Phil KOE can set this injustice correct. So, folks,
yes, we do have this Sunday. This is May 16th, 2021. That's just a few days from right now. And folks, it's going to be an amazing one. This is the WrestleMania Backlash. And that means basically you're seeing the same matches you saw at WrestleMania. Yeah, find it here. Real quick, let's just run it down what we got signed up for here. We've got Bobby Lashley against Drew McIntyre, against Braun Strowman, triple threat for the WWE title. Bianca Belair versus Bayley for
Bryan will sneak in there somehow.
With Bianca Belair and Bayley.
Sure, that too. That'd be cool.
The previous three-way. He's going to find a way to sneak his way into that.
Four-way. Sure. That's for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Rhea Ripley versus Asuka versus Charlotte. That's a triple threat for the Raw Women's title. That's going to be amazing. I was hoping they'd save that for like SummerSlam. But hey, fuck it. Let's just bum rush to that one. The Dirty Dogs, worst name ever. Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, champs versus Mysterios. That's for the SmackDown tag titles. Roman Reigns versus Cesaro for the Universal title. That's going to be really good. And I think it's going to be an actual underrated match, but it's got a stipulation to lumberjacks, so it's probably going to ruin it. Damian Priest versus The Miz. So we've got some decent matches on this one.
I love me.
Props to The Miz. The Miz is always there to put on a show.
He's a good, reliable
he is a true
workhorse.
Company man.
Yeah, I mean, he's a reliable workhorse company man.
I'm like, they just keep throwing shit at him. And he just keeps
he's now a two-time WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Yeah. So now, granted, both of his
second run was a little rough.
His first reign was a little rubbish as well, Tony. That's what makes him
Yeah,
great.
I was
He
hoping the
cashes
second
in his
one would
money
be
in
a
the
little
bank.
more. That's
They
it.
really need to just give him a giant handlebar mustache, a monocle, and a top hat because he's just so perfectly villainous.
Yeah.
Now you're
all right.
now you're all picturing it.
That was
Now you're all
before.
picturing
Yeah.
it.
All right.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I sure am.
Well, folks,
yeah, I can't
all
not
of you
picture it.
all of you beautiful
Thanks.
people at the Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast, be sure to like, share, subscribe right here, Revolutionary Wrestling Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. Also, be sure to check out Big Buckin' Empire on YouTube and Facebook so you can keep up with even more of the crazy happenings of Dog Chicken and your beautiful man of himself, Phil KOE. Also, be sure to check out this damn handsome man, Phil KOE, at KOE Nation on YouTube and Twitch, because it's the right thing to do. Keep up with all of your KOE content. And also, why not check out Tony G over at Grip Paranormal for just a different take on the world and reality as we know it. But folks, I am your King of Extreme, Phil KOE, signing off, handing it off. All of you beautiful people, you better be here for the next pay-per-view where Phil KOE takes the title back. God bless every last one of you. I love every last one of you. Chicken, Tony, take it away.